title in everyone's imagination. That's the heavyweight champ. You were here. Everyone else was here. But since then, feeling has been, Joshua makes all this money fighting anyway, 30 million pounds, whatever it is. Why should he take 40 or 50 to fight Wilder when he's making against anybody? He can make 30, 40 million pounds, whatever it is.
No fantasy contracts, just reality. You know, bringing our worth to the table and bargaining and negotiating what we're worth and making this fight happen.
Which mentality do you come in with? I ask because when you were slick, to me that looked like a better fighter. But maybe this is the kind of fight where you just need to impose your strength.
When a silent storm walks into the room, everyone feels it. And that's exactly what happened when Anthony Joshua sat across from Max Kellerman, carrying the kind of calm that only a true destroyer understands. Joshua didn't just show up to talk about Jake Paul. He showed up to expose the mindset behind facing a man who thrives on chaos and controversy. With the world buzzing over this unlikely showdown, Joshua broke down the pressure, the critics, and the legacy he refuses to let slip. He spoke with a razor-sharp confidence, revealing why this fight isn't a spectacle to him, it's a mission.
Or a heavyweight champion of the world, you're an undefeated Olympic super heavyweight gold medalist, you're entering your physical prime, and you put 100,000 people in Wembley. So I get your argument. I have the economic clout. He's not coming in as partners. I should get a bigger slice of the pie. Let's have a realistic negotiation.
Kellerman, always the master of mixing sharp analysis with a hint of theatrical doubt, dove straight into the heart of the chaos surrounding this matchup. He didn't tiptoe around the obvious, calling it one of the strangest heavyweight clashes the sport has ever seen. On one side stands Anthony Joshua, a former world champion with a legacy built on discipline and destruction. On the other side stands Jake Paul, a digital-era disruptor who turned internet fame into boxing headlines. So the burning question remained, why is this fight even happening? It's the same question fans have shouted since day one. And when Joshua finally answered, his calm, confident delivery shifted the entire energy of the conversation.
A guy like that, you're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering.
When Kellerman pressed Joshua on what he genuinely respects about Jake Paul, AJ answered with a calm sharpness that carried weight. He admitted that Paul, despite having no amateur pedigree and an unconventional rise, is still diving straight into the deep end without hesitation. Joshua pointed out that Paul willingly puts himself under real pressure, taking risks most newcomers would never consider. What stands out most to him is Paul's raw enthusiasm and his stubborn drive to test himself against elite competition. Joshua explained that this kind of ambition doesn't just benefit Paul. It brings new eyes, new energy, and a broader audience to boxing, shining a brighter spotlight on a sport that thrives on bold personalities and fearless challengers.
Jake Paul, does he remind you of any guy that you fought before? Or is this a unique situation that you've never come across?
Very unique situation I've never come across, but treating with the same respect that I give all my competition.
So you got the mental fortitude, he's got the mental fortitude. But what's the one best thing that you pride Jake Paul of having that maybe you haven't seen in other competition you faced so far?
From a physical aspect, I couldn't even mention it at the minute. But from a mental aspect, he offered me to fight. Normally, I'm offering people fights. He's told me, come and fight. So he believes in himself.
What does the word legacy mean to you, AJ?
Legacy, what does it mean? This is what I was actually asking someone. What does legacy mean? I don't even know.
The size gap between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua has quickly become one of the most talked about elements of this entire showdown, and for good reason. Jake has always looked powerful and compact in his own divisions, but the moment he stands beside Joshua, the scene transforms into a true David versus Goliath visual. Joshua doesn't just edge him out, he completely eclipses him. His frame reflects over a decade of living, training, and fighting as a natural heavyweight, built for delivering and absorbing power at the highest level. The contrast is almost jarring when they face off. Jake may have packed on extra muscle and pushed his weight higher for this challenge, but he still can't replicate the sheer mass, reach, or intimidating presence of someone who has spent his career trading blows with giants.
Paul versus AJ, as though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He's 6'1", 220. Probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big, big unit. I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that's the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes. But I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. It's a very, very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. It's going to be easy. Give me my money. Let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake Paul. And AJ is that guy anyway. Like, I would never doubt that AJ would take this seriously. For Jake Paul, I do wonder if realization is kicking in, or maybe he is just that delusional where he doesn't care. I do, and I've been sort of corrected by a few people who maybe know better, but I do think the Americans don't credit or rate AJ. I do think there's a bit of that. I remember when AJ did the rounds prior to the Ruiz fight, and there were a few people like, you're not that good. This was prior to...
Nikki Sabedarian, the CEO of Most Valuable Promotions, spoke to Sky Sports with unmistakable excitement, calling the upcoming December 19th showdown between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua a full-scale global event in the making. He admitted that Joshua's experience level is miles ahead, but he also highlighted something unusual: Jake Paul's almost delusional self-belief, an unpredictable X-factor that could tilt moments of the fight in unexpected ways. Bedarian revealed that this matchup wasn't even supposed to happen this soon. The original blueprint targeted 2026, but Jake pushed hard, refusing to wait and demanding the fight be made now. As a result, negotiations were rapidly tightened, timelines were slashed, and the entire process was accelerated to turn this high-stakes clash into reality.
Will there be a limit for Joshua?
So there's a lot of discussion around the weight. Joshua fought Usyk twice. Both of those times, Usyk was 221 pounds. Joshua was 240 to 245. When Jake fought Mike Tyson last year, 227 pounds. I expect Jake will come in anywhere between 225 and 230, and Anthony Joshua has a weight limit of 245 pounds.
There will be those, as you're aware, that will look at it and criticise this fight. There already have been, haven't there? They'll say it's a real mismatch. What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for Anthony Joshua?
Alexander Usyk didn't mince words, calling the upcoming clash between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul completely one-sided, likening Joshua to a Rolls-Royce and Paul to a Fiat, a metaphor that captures the gulf in fundamentals, experience, and heavyweight readiness between a battle-tested champion and an internet celebrity chasing boxing gold. Usyk stressed the danger Paul faces stepping into the ring against someone born to fight heavyweights, pointing out that this isn't about hype or money, it's about real boxing pedigree. Yes, some argue Paul's youth, money, and access to elite trainers give him a shot, but when you compare 6 feet 1 inch at 200 pounds and a handful of amateur bouts to a 6 feet 6 inches, 252 pounds Olympic gold winner with 43 elite fights and years of power training behind him, the difference is night and day. The rules, 8 rounds, heavyweight, 10 ounces gloves, favor brute force and experience, not YouTube fame. Critics who call this a wild card blockbuster ignore the risk. This isn't showbiz, it's a heavyweight fight. So ask yourself, is this a sloppy mismatch or a wild card? If you're ready to see the real fight, smash that subscribe, hit like if you believe in real boxing, and share this video, because the world needs to see who's really stepping into the ring.